Look on your social media feeds. It's a bird. It's a plane. No, it's Krypton's Legacy, a Superman podcast. Covering all of Clark Kent's greatest adventures in comics, film, and animation. With your hosts, Adam and Nick.
Welcome to another episode of Krypton's Legacy, a Superman podcast and vidcast. As always, I'm your host, Adam. And with me, as always, is my co-host, Nick. Nick, how's it going?
Adam, I'm doing great. As you can see, I am sporting my illustrious Smallville sweater. I love it for a lot of different reasons. It mainly represents multiple different eras of Superman that I love. And I'm just excited to be here because, man, we got some great updates.
Yeah, usually, we kind of had this as a backup plan in case news was announced, and luckily we did, because there is news. There's quite a bit of it, actually. But yes, Smallville, it's nice to see Smallville represented. I often like to say that, there was a period of time, I would like to say between 2001 to 2006, where Smallville was the carrier of the Superman torch, because, and no pun intended to the Smallville, wasn't the torch one of the magazines? Yeah, right?
Yeah, it was the
newspaper. Yeah.
It like served as that version of the Daily Planet before it happened. Torch. Yeah.
So it carried the torch for Superman, at a time when, the comics weren't that great, and there was no movie in sight from 2001 to like 2004, and so Smallville was it. So, and as I've said many times, when Smallville got it right, and then when it did things that I thought it got wrong, boy, did they get it wrong. But you know what? It brought new people to the character of Superman, and it reinvigorated my love for the character. So I do love and appreciate it, and so there's that. So it's good to see you representing it. So as Nick and I have alluded to, there's a lot of news in the world of DC's Kryptonians, and I use that for a reason. And we'll get to it. First order of business, speaking of, the upcoming Superman Legacy, we're going to be, with this piece of news, we're talking a bit about Superman's actual legacy in the form of Christopher Reeve. So what's up on the Christopher Reeve front, Nick?
Yeah, so this one's interesting. So there is a documentary called Superman, a Christopher Reeve story that premiered at the Sundance Film Festival, which I actually attended virtually. And long story short, I actually tried to see this documentary. I reached out to the people at Sundance to try to at least see it, and fortunately, it did not succeed. So I'll get back to you on that one. But I've heard nothing but rave, excellent reviews. Heartwarming, emotional, beautiful, all the things you can think of. But long story short is, when films premiere at Sundance Film Festival, they go there so they can get bought out by distributors, so that those movies can come out at a certain point, either later in the year or beginning of like next year, like whenever, like a date that a studio wants to put it out at. So
sure,
Warner Brothers and DC Studios and Warner Brothers Discovery purchased the distribution rights to this documentary to be released at a later time.
Yeah, it's fitting that, can you imagine a Christopher Reeve documentary that at least touches on the Superman aspect of it, being released at like Universal or Fox? It just doesn't feel right.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that Warner Brothers got it, and that it will be distributed through DC Studios. Funny enough, they paid $15 million for it, and I'm actually shocked, because certain accountants online tell me that Warner Brothers is broke, yet here they are spending 15 million like it's pocket change. So, I guess people need to go to accounting school if they're going to comment on finances. But so it's nice to see Warner Brothers ponied up the cash to get it. And I'm excited. Like I've heard those same rumblings online that it's a heartwarming, a tearjerker, all those things. I'm excited to see it because, aside from the fact that Christopher Reeve's performance as Superman is, an example of a perfect marriage between actor and character, the man was beyond Superman an inspiration just because being paralyzed and having to go through that and be an ambassador for people with disabilities, and to have the hope that he did, that there would one day be a cure, and it's just such a inspiring person to look up to, and to see that story played out in a more, because there have been documentaries on Christopher Reeve, like A&E had one years ago, but I think this is going to go far more in depth, and especially talking to his kids and how they were affected, back in the day. I think that'll be another layer to the story. So I'm fascinated to see it. I can tell you that I remember when the announcement came down that he had passed away. Very rarely do I shed tears over celebrities that I've never met. His passing was one of the times that I shed some tears. The other time so far has probably been Adam West, just because without him, I don't know what kind of a Batman fan I would be. So I am so eager to see this. In terms of when it's going to be released, we don't know those details yet. But given that DC Studios acquired it, I'm going to bet that closer to the release of Superman Legacy, they'll probably put this out. Whether it'll be in theaters or on Max, or sold as part of like a 2-pack with Superman Legacy, who knows? But I think something will be done to where it premieres or is watchable or viewable closer to the release of Legacy. And I think that would be a nice sort of, it would be fitting with the title of that new movie to look back at the man who has had such an imprint on the character. And regardless of what Legacy does or doesn't do, Christopher Reeve's, the mark that he left on the character will, I think, be everlasting. So, I think this is great news. And again, I'm so eager to see that film, and maybe that's something we can review once we see it on the on the podcast here. So stay tuned for more information on that as we have it. Nick and I will, of course, bring it to you. But so now, actually talking about Superman Legacy, the film, one of the key components of a film like Superman Legacy, Nick, sorry for Chris. I'm losing. I'm getting old.
You got too much Christopher Reeve on your mind.
Yeah, exactly. Nick, one of the things that's important to a film, especially like Superman, is the score, the musical component. And with Superman, of course, one of the key things regarding the music is not just the music as a whole, but whatever the Superman theme is going to be. And the speculation has been, well, who's gonna score the music? Who's gonna be, do the score? Well, thanks to James Gunn, we now know who's going to have the honor, privilege, and daunting task of creating Superman Legacy's Superman theme and musical score. And that person is who?
I believe it is John Murphy. So I believe a few of his credits are he did the Guardians of the Galaxy score. He's done a few of other James Gunn's work. So he's kind of like an in-house guy, one that James Gunn can trust, which is what DC probably needs at the moment. He seems like a reliable composer. I haven't heard too much of his work, but again, I'd be remiss if I would be somebody that can admit that, oh yeah, I'm sure John Williams is going to come back out of retirement and do the score for a brand new Superman movie. While the fanboy in me would have been probably screaming like a fangirl, being like, oh, this could be really cool. It's John Williams coming back to do Superman, right? Like, I mean, came back to do Indiana Jones, but I think it's fitting to have kind of like start a new path, and I think it sounds like this composer actually has quite a bit done already in the can, which is cool. Seems like he's been kind of working on it for a while. So I'm excited.
The interesting thing to me is, like, I'm not gonna say I'm, my ear is so attuned to John Murphy's themes that I can guarantee that it's gonna be an absolute banger. I don't know, but I will say this: there were times during Guardians of the Galaxy 3 where Little Rocket is in captivity and there was score playing. It wasn't just pop songs or there was score, and that score did make me emotional. It went along with what was going on screen, and it fit so well, and it helped. It wasn't just the music; it was obviously what was happening on screen, but the music helps elicit certain emotions, and it did its job there. So at least there's it's not, what I can say is it won't sound like generic, just music for the sake of we need music here. So that's a plus. But also what I'm intrigued about with this announcement is, like you alluded to, James Gunn said he's already been working on music for the film. And that James Gunn said that they'll have that music playing during filming so that the actors can get a vibe for what, imagine if there's a shirt rip scene and David Corenswet can actually hear the theme that he's going to be, that's going to be playing when we're watching it. What kind of emotion that will elicit from him as he's performing the scene. And that's reminiscent to me of Matt Reeves and Michael Giacchino on the Batman.
Yeah.
So I wonder, are we going to get a little bit of footage for a costume reveal with the theme accompanying it? Like, that would be cool.
Man.
Just please don't just stop. If you're going to do that, don't stop at the S logo and then leave us. Well, okay.
Do the halfway mark.
Yeah, don't do what Matt Reeves did, because all we were doing for weeks, every one of us podcasts we're like, okay, we get what the chest looks like, but what do the ears, the bat ears look like, and what does the cape look like? And so, if you're going to do it, give us a full shot. Preferably on the Daily Planet roof with his arms like this, the whole night. But however you want to do it, just give us a full look at the costume, please. Because Nick and I will digest the chest logo for 2 hours if we have to. But but we'd rather talk about the full thing. So Nick,
Adam, I need you to save the image, then rotate clockwise 50 degrees.
Yeah. So Nick, do you think that we could see something like we did for the Batman with the musical score behind it, given what they have already composed?
I definitely think it's possible. I feel like they're really gonna try to sell this movie like in probably more ways than one, and I definitely think that was such a cool and unique thing that Matt Reeves did by catching fire, with the internet like that. Because that I mean, it kind of kills two birds in one stone at the same time if you think about it, right? Like you release a little bit of the snippet of the score, and you show what Batman looks like, and then it kind of like creates that ultimate hype. So I get it that James Gunn probably has somewhat of an idea, whether or not he wants to release parts of the score while doing the costume reveal, kind of like how parts of the Batman score got released while before the movie was coming out. That might be something else.
Yeah.
that he looks into too. But yeah, no, I definitely think that it's possible. I mean, Comic-Con's right around the corner. I'm sure James Gunn's gonna want to go.
He's gonna have footage for sure
He's gonna
because
have something.
well, he's gonna have
ready.
footage shot. Whether he shows it to anybody is
Yeah.
another thing. But I mean, March to July, that's plenty of time to get some footage, right?
I mean, he might be done by that point.
I mean, at the very least, you might not have any CGI complete, but
Right.
you can certainly show Clark Kent and Lois Lane walking around the Daily Planet. I don't think you need CGI for that.
Yeah,
well,
I mean, like teaser,
hold
right?
on, wait a
Like,
minute. James
yeah.
Gunn doesn't need CGI for that. Certain other directors will use CGI for that, but James Gunn won't. He'll put them in an office building and say, "Here, walk from this desk to that desk."
Yeah.
So there'll be footage,
Mhm.
but we'll see
Yeah.
what. But
I don't think the Daily Plan is going to be CGI, y'all.
yeah, I don't think the whole building. Can you imagine the whole building here?
I don't think
The whole
building-
interior is CGI. Just walk around green screen all day long, with a desk in the middle of nowhere. I mean, Marvel's done that with. Wasn't there a dinner scene with two characters where it was just them sitting at a table and everything was blue? It's like really, you couldn't pony up for a restaurant set? Like really? All that Avengers money and you couldn't. But I digress. Just give me that Deadpool 3 trailer. But that's another podcast. So again, I think it's fascinating that idea that some of the music is already done. And the cool thing about that too is John Murphy sort of put out a statement saying, that James's script are so vivid and detailed that you could see the movie playing out in your head, so that it makes it easier for him to score to that, as opposed to having to wait to see the footage. So it gives you a little bit of insight into James Gunn's script as well, in terms of the detail in it, that he's able to do that. And he said that DC was a big part of his life growing up. DC characters were a big part of it, his life growing up, and that it's an honor to be scoring Superman Legacy. So clearly, he seems to have a passion for this, and he seems to be taking it seriously in terms of the responsibility that it entails. So it's going to be a big piece of the puzzle. I'm eager to see it, to hear it, and then see it accompanied with footage when we see the movie. Part of me wishes I could fast forward to 2025 right now, but if we,
I know.
DeLorean is in the shop, can't do that, so it is what it is. But look, I'll say this: whether we hear a snippet of John Williams somewhere in this score, would part of me like that? Yes, like maybe when the DC logo hits, if you just hear a snippet of the like basically, I'll give Marvel credit when Marvel Studios did the Spider-Man movies. They had the original Spider-Man theme during the Marvel Studios logo appearance. Remember the original 60s theme would play. That was a clever touch. So if James Gunn put it somewhere there where you hear a few of the bars, a few of the trumpets from the Superman, the classic theme, that would be cool. If it's if it's not present at all, it's not present. It is what it is. I'm fine with it. Like that having John Williams' theme is not make or break for me with the Superman movie. Like I'd rather not have the theme and have a spectacular movie than have the Superman John Williams theme and a mediocre movie. Like if you give me the choice, I'll choose option A all day, every day. So, but I'm so curious to hear what he's come up with and what that sounds like. So, looking forward to it for sure.
I know we're almost there. I'm excited, man. We're like
the next time we record a Superman show,
yeah,
will probably be we won't, but James Gunn will have started filming.
Yeah. He's
So,
already posting something on Instagram, but he's like, he's in like a one of those like Hollywood golf carts, like
yeah, he couldn't accept.
scouting
The funny
out.
thing is, he
Yeah,
couldn't accept the Saturn Award for Guardians of the Galaxy 3
yeah,
because he's in Atlanta, deep in prep on
yeah,
Superman. It's funny.
yeah.
Kevin Feige accepted the award for James Gunn. You gotta love it. Just the
Our
what's the
director couldn't be here at this time because he's too busy filming a now
because
new
he's
brand
the
new
CEO
DC.
of our competition. And our last great movie was directed by the DC guy, and
That's true.
he was wearing. I gotta give Kevin Feige credit. He knows what the next big Marvel movie is, or the one that people are excited about, because he had a Deadpool 3 hat, and I kind of want that hat, but again, that's neither here nor there. But I just find it funny that the last guy that directed, in my opinion, the last fantastic Marvel movie is now the head of the co-CEO of DC Studios. You gotta love it.
Yep.
But yeah, so more news on the score and the soundtrack. Whenever we get it, we'll for sure be breaking it down and talking about it. And then the big news is that, much to the leaks or the implications from a month ago, or even 2 months ago, is that the casting of Supergirl was imminent, and sure enough, what was it, a week ago now?
Mm-hmm.
Supergirl was cast. There was a story that we were down to two candidates. So, Nick, give us a little bit about, because I don't think we talked about when there was down to two. Who were the two finalists for the role?
Yeah, so there was a little bit of a short list, and it was reported by all the trains, THR, Deadline, Variety, that three of them were in the running, which were Milly Alcock, Meg Donnelly, and Amelia Jones. So they was told that Amelia Jones never got as far as Meg Donnelly and Milly Alcock did. So
Yeah.
we were led to believe that at a certain point it was just down to two people, and then kind of a few days later, lo and behold, we now have a brand new Supergirl. And people from that watched House of the Dragon, the Game of Thrones spinoff prequel show, can rise because Milly Alcock has officially been cast as our DCU Supergirl. So, Adam, kick it away.
Indeed, she has, and I will say this: I started watching House of the Dragon. I got through season 1. Millie, in the first 5 episodes, was absolutely phenomenal. Then they did this thing where they aged up the character, and they totally lost me. To the point where I'm like, I'm not watching season 2. They ruined it. It didn't vibe with me. Like, Millie did such a good job that I was like, I don't buy whoever this person is. I mean, no, nothing against her. She did an admirable job. I just wasn't feeling it. And so once Millie was recast, I was like, all right, I'm out. But she did such a wonderful job of she had that sense of, she was young. The character was young. There was a vulnerability to her, but also an element of being a badass, and she was vicious when she had to be, and those qualities that I just sort of talked about kind of mirror the qualities that the Supergirl that is present in Woman of Tomorrow has. So if Millie is able to do that in 5 episodes of Game of Thrones, I have no doubt that she's going to be able to carry that elements of that over to a 2-hour plus feature film. The interesting thing as well from this casting is that she actually did a screen test on the Superman Legacy set in a Supergirl costume. To the point where when James Gunn, confirmed her casting on Threads and Instagram, he was having a back and forth with Jim Lee saying, "Oh, I can't wait to show you the screen test footage. You're gonna freak when you see her in the suit." And in my head, I'm thinking, why don't you just drop that here? Well, let us all see it. Why not, right? And instantly, as he typed that in post, and he posted that, I'm sure millions of DC fans were trying to figure out a way to hack his phone just to get that footage. Along with getting that image that he supposedly has of Cornsweat in the suit on his phone. So James Gunn's got a lot of good stuff on his phone. If anybody has access to James Gunn's phone and wants to send us those two files, we won't refuse them.
No, we will not.
But yeah, so it's interesting that they went to the level of a costume. I know James Gunn said that because a fan asked how much screen time she'd have in Superman Legacy, and he said, "Well, I never said she was in it, but let's be honest. If James Gunn is casting Supergirl, it means Supergirl's in Superman Legacy. Otherwise, he would have waited until there was a director in place for Supergirl to cast her. So, I mean, the only other place that we know that James is directing that she could possibly show up is Peacemaker season 2. But why would Supergirl be in Peacemaker? It doesn't make sense. So, yeah, she's in Superman Legacy. It's the worst kept secret in Hollywood. But just the thought of her testing in costume, Nick. Question is, just a thought, what costume do you think she was testing in? Because I don't think they had one made ready to go for her. That's not usually how it works.
I mean, like I know typically what they like to do is they like whenever there's a new Batman, they'll put him in like the Val Kilmer.
Yeah, the Kilmer one seems to be the testing.
Seems to be the test one. Yeah. So I'm gonna go off my logic here and say maybe she tested in the Helen Slater Supergirl one, or there's
Melissa
Melissa Benoist's
or even
Supergirl
Sasha's
suits. Yeah, or Sasha's, but I'm gonna say it's one of the two. But just because I feel like the Helen Slater one is actually probably more closer to what I think she's gonna look like.
Probably, yeah.
In the actual movie, so that kind of makes a little bit more realistic sense to me. But who knows? Maybe she just looks good in any of the costumes.
That's my bet. Because, I'm glad you mentioned that, because Milly Alcock is in fact on the list. I had to tell you. You knew it was going to be done, Nick.
Of course I did. But yeah, no, and just to add a little bit more context to the castings. I mean, if anybody's read Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow, I mean, obviously we viewed the book on this show. I mean, it's long story short. It's Supergirl traveling through the galaxy who wants to celebrate her 21st birthday, and she comes across this child who wants to murder a space demon who killed her father. So that's kind of long story short of what Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow is. And when you put those two together, Milly Alcock's perfect. I mean, she certainly has, the tenacity to play that version of Supergirl. While I was maybe thinking that Gunn was going to go skew a little bit, not necessarily older, but, maybe not somebody as young.
Because she's 23, 24.
Yeah, it's hard to argue that, James Gunn wants longevity. He wants to try to go as much comic accurate as possible. And Milly Alcock fits that bill. So I think it's a great casting. If you loved House of Dragon, she's an in-house name. So, Warner Brothers has House of Dragon and Games of Thrones. That's another key factor, too, is that, I think she brings a little bit of fan appeal.
She'll bring that fandom with her for sure.
Exactly.
But it's also look, just looking at Milly, she's got a Supergirl look to her. And so did Meg Donnelly, to be fair. Either one would have looked the part. Sure. But in terms of her age, I think you have to look at it like typically she's younger than Superman anyway, so she should look a bit younger than him. And to my knowledge, Millie is about 6 or 7 years younger than Corn Sweat, which for the Superman Supergirl dynamic tracks.
Yeah.
Whereas if you think of Sasha Kaye, right, she's 27, 28. She's quite close in age to Corn Sweat. They look, in terms of similar in age, like that's the ages they look. So if you're trying to go for that older cousin, younger cousin dynamic, it doesn't necessarily look that way if it was going to be the Corn Sweat Kaye combination. Now, if it was Kaye Cavill, that would work because he's 40 and she's 28.
There's roughly there's like a 10, 12-year age gap.
It makes sense. You know what I mean? So you and again, to be fair, she was his Supergirl, even though they never interacted. It is what it is. Long story. We've buried that horse. It's dead. Let's not flog it anymore. So it is what it is. So and that's why the recast also makes sense. And look, I think it's pretty much well established that if you're not part of Team Peacemaker or Sholo Mariduena and Blue Beetle, you're getting recast. The only maybe that might be left over is Margot Robbie, depending on if and when we see Hardy again. But other than that, you're getting recast. Like, let's call it what it is. So this should be expected. I mean, it should have been. And look, once the Flash came out, did what it did. Unfortunately, that was the beginning of the end for Sasha's tenure as Supergirl, I think. Had that resonated and made 600 to 700 million, maybe she would have been considered and kept on, but it didn't, and there was a stigma associated with the Flash through no fault of her own. She was the dutiful soldier. She played the role that she was given very well, and she's got a couple other movies from that she's got another opportunity, so she'll be fine. But unfortunately, it was just a case of wrong place, wrong time, or right place, wrong movie. Same for Keaton. Because as I've said a couple of times on this show with you, I think that if they had done a Batman Beyond, a straight up Batman Beyond with Michael Keaton, I'm venturing to guess it probably makes more money than The Flash did. And same with the solo Supergirl movie without, if Sasha had been given her own movie without Ezra Miller's involvement, probably does a lot better than The Flash did. And this is somebody who I love The Flash. But there's no denying that the lead actor, whether the accusations were valid or invalid or indifferent, led to the reception of that film being what it was.
So I just want to perfectly add context, because what you said is just so perfect and it's so on the money. He didn't keep Sasha Kaye because she's Latina or because she's a brunette or
that's the stupidest.
That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. It's just one of those. Look, man, this is Hollywood.
I've heard the racism claim, and it's bull. It's bull because Miss Tessmacher is a Latina. Right, in James Gunn's DCU, correct? Hawkgirl, yes, she was born in the U.S., but Isabella Merced is of Latina origin, right? Descent or origin, however you phrase it. The Engineer is of Latina descent. So it has zero to do with race. I mean, Mr. Terrific is in this movie. So to claim racism is one of the stupidest claims I've ever heard about. Like Zoe Saldana from the from the Guardians franchise. I mean, I hate to break it to you, but she's not as white as Zeddy and me are.
Yeah.
So again, this claim of racism, and that's why the role was recast, is BS.
Yeah. She's just not what James Gunn wanted. And you know what?
Yeah.
It's kind of just is what it is. You know, it's.
And again, she's got other roles. I think she's going to be fine.
Yeah.
If there's a place for her in the DCU as a different character, I welcome it because I thought she did a good job with what she was given, and I thought that she carried the press tour because Ben Affleck had already checked out once he filmed this thing. Michael Keaton was busy doing Beetlejuice, and nobody with good conscience would put Ezra Miller in front of a camera and say talk about the movie because the questions would then be, well, what about this allegation? And what about that allegation? And it'd be anything but the movie. So Sasha had to go out there, put the brave face on, and talk about this movie as if nothing was wrong. And she did that, and she performed well. And I'm glad that she's gotten other roles and is doing well for herself. She certainly deserves it. And if I see her in the DCU in the future, as some other character, I will happily welcome her back into the DC family. But right now, Milly Alcock is our new Kara Zor-El, and I choose to give her my support because I've seen what she can do in just 5 episodes of a show, and it was nothing short of fantastic. And that's the kind of performer that you want if you're James Gunn. You like the more solid talent that you could hire, the better chances your films have. Yes, other things have to come in play, like script, direction, etc. But you're starting off on a good foot when you hire top-tier quality performers. And so far, that's what Milly Alcock seems to provide here. So, and based on her Instagram post, like she responded to her guy, she seems so excited. And again, that's what you want.
Yep.
Corin Sweat wisely has stayed off social media because he doesn't want to hear. Because the minute he posts, you're gonna have idiots hashtagging Henry Cavill Superman.
Yeah.
Much like the Cody Rhodes people are hashed that nothing to do with it. But every time
you want to do a wrestling podcast, we'll be here for days.
Every time WWE posts, it's "We want Cody," and I'm telling you, Nick, there's no doubt in my mind. There are overlap between Snyder Cultists and what I call Cody Cucks. It's the same. There's overlap between the two of them. No doubt in my mind because the behavior is the same. It's like I stepped backwards in time 2 years. It's ridiculous. I'm like, what is going on here? I got rid of one crazy fandom, and now we walked into another one. Like here's a message to both of the fandoms.
Like Lord of the Rings, Adam. There's more than one. There's always more than one.
Here's my message to both those fandoms. Here's an idea. How about we let storylines play out and see what happens? Yeah, just a thought. Maybe. And besides, professional wrestling is fictional. The outcome is predetermined. The championship it's much like that Dragon Dagger. Guess what? It's a toy. When I play it, the Dragon Sword doesn't come out and stand outside my window.
Adam just breaking the heart of millions around the world.
Did. And I wish Amy Jo Johnson accompanied it. It was right there with it. But this is just not the way things work. And if and when Cody Rhodes wins a title, you know why he's winning a title? Because they told him that it was okay for him to win that title. The other guy's laying down and saying, "Pin me." That's what's happening. I don't understand. I know we're off topic, but I just don't understand the uproar. I get it, getting behind them, but it's like, do people get that upset at the end of a movie, Nick? When you watch a movie, do you like 3 weeks later pine for, oh my God, that person got screwed? No.
Yeah.
You understand that it's a performance.
Move on to the next one.
I don't get it. I don't get it. And I like I love professional wrestling. Yeah. I've been an avid fan since I was 4. So I'm not knocking. Yes, what they do physically is real. Like, it hurts. All that stuff hurts. But I'm saying The outcome is predetermined. But people are acting as if somebody kicked Cody Rhodes' dog and ran it over with a car. It's not that deep, folks. He's getting paid. Breaking news, he's getting paid. Just like Sasha Kaya, guess what? She got paid for her role as Supergirl, and she's getting paid for every other movie she does. She's going to be okay. It's all going to be okay. Zack Snyder's got his thing at Netflix for however long that lasts before whoever takes over comes in and does whatever they're going to do. But Zack Snyder got paid for Attack of the Dead and is that what it was? Is that what it was called?
Army of the Dead.
Whatever, same deal. and then Rebel Moon, he got paid handsomely. Probably he's going to be okay. Like it just, I don't get it. I don't get the I don't know. I don't know. I don't get it. But listen, the DC universe is going to be okay, I think, because James Gunn is amassing great talent in front of and behind the camera, and that's something to get very excited for. And just think, the next time you and I are here recording, Nick, is especially talking about Superman, James Gunn will probably be filming as we're talking.
Cameras are going to be rolling.
And maybe they'll drop a picture before we record. Who knows?
And while we're recording, they've already announced the director for Supergirl will up tomorrow.
Probably. But James, I'll message you on Threads. I'll let you know when we're recording our next episode. If you could drop, the suit picture by, the morning of our recording, that would be nice because we could just talk about it, and you could save us a lot of time. So just, I'll be in your Threads momentarily as soon as we wrap this up. But any final words on Milly Alcock, Nick?
I'm just excited, just to see. First and foremost, I'm glad that Supergirl is not being shelved and put on the back burner just because of the Flash. Didn't do well. So I'm first and foremost excited that it seems like James Gunn's really leaning into the Kryptonian world after those two characters have been put on the back burner for so long. Them kind of starting off the DC universe.
Stupidly,
just makes the Superman fanboy in me so happy. So I'm excited to see Legacy, and then I'm excited to see Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow kind of spin off into that. So I'm all in on the ride right now. It seems like the stars are aligning just in general for, Superman and Supergirl. So just keep this train rolling, man. And whoever the director is for Woman of Tomorrow, I'm just gonna put my faith in them.
Anybody but Matthew Vaughn at this point. That's all I'm saying.
Don't think it's gonna be Matthew Vaughn.
Yeah, no, but I'm with you. I'm so excited. As much of a Batman fan, Batman's my number one guy, but Superman's my 1B, and it's nice to see both him and Supergirl leading the charge for the new DCU. And again, all we have is one actor cast for the Supergirl film, but we're off to a great start with Milly. And so the next thing is the director, and when we have that, we'll bring it to you, and we'll talk about it. But if you want to talk Superman or Supergirl with Nick or I, you can. So Nick, where do they find you on socials?
Yeah, you guys can find me on Twitter and Letterboxd at Nick Zannick, and you guys can most notably also hear me on the Vigilante 1939 podcast. Just search the name of the show, and you will find that podcast anywhere you listen to them. Thank you, sir.
Awesome. You can find me at Adam_LeafsFan on Twitter. You can find the Facebook group for the podcast network listed in the description below. Click that, and we will continue the conversation there if you so choose. And just before we go, I'd like to say that Superman and Supergirl are forever. From the first time they met in the comic books to the first time they'll meet on screen in Superman Legacy. So long, everybody.